The night was quiet in suburban Ohio, where Emily sat alone on the edge of her bed, her hands trembling as she held a small white stick in front of her. The glow of the bedside lamp painted her face in a soft golden hue, but her eyes were fixed on the 2 pink lines that stared back at her. For a moment, her breath caught in her chest. Her heart raced, faster than she had ever felt before, and tears filled her eyes, not from fear, but from the overwhelming wave of joy and disbelief. Emily had always dreamed of this moment, but now that it was real, she didn't want to just blurt it out to her husband, Daniel, when he walked through the door after work. No, she wanted him to remember this for the rest of his life. She wanted to create a memory, a story they could tell their child one day. As she tucked the pregnancy test into her nightstand, her mind was already racing with ideas. How could she surprise him in a way that captured how much this meant to her? Dinner? A gift? A hidden message? She didn't know yet, but she was certain of one thing. This was going to be the most beautiful secret she had ever kept, even if only for a short while. Emily closed the drawer gently, her fingertips lingering on the wooden edge as though she had just locked away a treasure. She leaned back against the headboard, staring at the ceiling, her mind spinning faster than she could catch her thoughts. Pregnant. The word echoed in her chest, filling every corner of her heart. She imagined Daniel's face when he found out. He had always talked about wanting to be a father one day, how he'd teach his child to ride a bike in the neighborhood park, how he'd read bedtime stories in all sorts of funny voices just to make them laugh. Now that dream wasn't far away. It was here, inside her, growing with every passing second. A nervous laugh escaped her lips, and she quickly pressed a hand against her mouth. This wasn't something she could keep inside for long, yet the thought of blurting it out in a casual moment felt wrong. This news deserved something magical, something Daniel would never forget. Emily pulled out her phone and opened her notes app, quickly jotting down random ideas as they came. A small gift box with baby shoes. A dinner where the dessert would reveal the secret. A handwritten letter slipped into his jacket pocket. Her heart swelled as she imagined each scenario, and she could almost see Daniel's blue eyes widening with shock before softening with joy. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes again. She whispered to herself, "This is it. Our new beginning." But even with the excitement, there was a tiny knot of fear in her stomach. What if he was too shocked? What if he wasn't ready? She shook her head quickly, refusing to let the doubt settle. Daniel loved her deeply, and she knew, without question, that he would love this baby too. That night, as she lay down in the quiet glow of the lamp, Emily hugged a pillow close to her chest. She smiled through her tears, imagining Daniel holding her hand the moment she told him. Tomorrow, she promised herself. Tomorrow, she would start setting the stage for the biggest surprise of their lives. The next morning, Emily woke up with sunlight streaming through the curtains and a secret that made her heart race. As she brewed coffee in the kitchen, she glanced around the house, already imagining how she could transform this ordinary space into the backdrop of something unforgettable. Daniel had always been the romantic one, surprising her with flowers on random Tuesdays or leaving little notes in her car. This time it was her turn to sweep him off his feet. She wanted him to feel the joy, the wonder, the overwhelming love that she was carrying inside her. Her eyes landed on the wooden dining table near the window, where they had shared countless dinners, arguments, and late-night conversations. A slow smile spread across her face. That would be the spot. Tonight, that table wouldn't just hold food. It would hold the beginning of their new chapter. Emily drove to a nearby boutique and found herself staring at the tiniest pair of white baby shoes she had ever seen. Her fingers trembled as she picked them up, the reality of it all sinking deeper into her chest. She added a small gift box, tied with a silver ribbon, and tucked the shoes inside as carefully as if they were made of glass. Back at home, she set the table with Daniel's favorite meal, grilled salmon, roasted potatoes, and a bottle of wine they had been saving for a special occasion. She folded crisp napkins, lit soft candles, and placed the gift box right in the center of the table, small but impossible to miss. As she stepped back to admire her work, Emily's heart skipped. She could already see it in her mind. Daniel walking in, smiling at the smell of dinner, noticing the box, unwrapping it with curiosity. And then, that moment when realization would wash over him. She pressed her hands to her chest, whispering to herself, "He's going to be the happiest man tonight." The clock ticked past 7 as Emily lit the final candle, her hands trembling slightly. The warm glow filled the dining room, wrapping everything in a golden hush. She smoothed her dress, took a deep breath, and tried to calm the storm of emotions swirling inside her. Moments later, the sound of keys jingled at the front door made her heart leap. Daniel stepped inside, his tie loosened, and his shoulders carrying the weight of a long day. But as soon as he saw the candle-lit table, his brows lifted in surprise. "Wow," he said with a tired smile, hanging his jacket. "What's the occasion? Did I forget our anniversary or something?" Emily laughed softly, shaking her head. "No, nothing like that. I just thought tonight should be special." He kissed her cheek, his eyes scanning the perfectly set table, the wine, the soft music playing in the background. "It definitely feels special," he said warmly, pulling out a chair. Dinner passed in gentle conversation, though Emily found it hard to focus on the food. Every laugh, every glance at Daniel's face made her chest tighten. She was sitting on a secret too beautiful to contain. Finally, when the plates were cleared, Daniel leaned back, sipping his wine. "So, are you going to tell me what's really going on?" he teased, his eyes narrowing playfully. Emily's heart hammered as she reached for the small silver gift box in the center of the table. She pushed it gently toward him. "Actually, I do have something for you." Daniel raised an eyebrow, curiosity sparking in his gaze. He untied the ribbon slowly, lifted the lid, and froze. Inside lay the tiny pair of white baby shoes, nestled against soft tissue paper. For a moment, silence stretched between them. Daniel's eyes flickered from the shoes to Emily, confusion giving way to realization. His lips parted, but no words came. Emily swallowed, her voice trembling but steady enough to say the words she'd been carrying all day. "You're going to be a dad." Daniel's breath caught, and his hand moved to his mouth, his eyes suddenly shining. "Are you serious?" His voice cracked, breaking with emotion. Emily nodded, tears welling in her own eyes. "Yes, it's real. I found out yesterday." Daniel pushed back his chair and rushed to her side, pulling her into his arms. He held her so tightly she could feel the tremor in his chest. "Oh my God, Emily, this is the best news of my life." She laughed through her tears, resting her forehead against his. "I wanted it to be perfect for you. I wanted you to always remember this moment." Daniel kissed her deeply, his hands cupping her face, his voice breaking against her lips. "I will. I promise. This is everything." Daniel stayed on his knees beside her chair, still holding Emily as if letting go might make the moment slip away. His shoulders shook with quiet laughter and tears, and Emily felt the warmth of his cheek against her neck. When he finally pulled back, his eyes were glistening. He looked at her as though he was seeing her for the very first time, all over again. "Emily, we're going to be parents. Can you believe that?" She smiled through her tears, brushing her thumb across his cheek. "I've imagined this day 100 times, but nothing compares to seeing you like this." Daniel reached into the box and gently lifted the tiny baby shoes into his hand, staring at them as though they were the most precious thing he had ever held. "These are so small," he whispered. "Our whole future just fits inside these." Emily laughed softly, her heart full. "It's just the beginning, Daniel. There will be little socks and blankets, late-night feedings, first steps, everything we've dreamed of." He leaned in again, pressing his forehead against hers. "I promise I'll be the best dad. I'll do everything I can to give this child the happiest life." Tears rolled freely down Emily's cheeks now, but they were tears of pure joy. "And I'll be right there with you. Always." The candles flickered gently around them as they sat together, holding each other, holding the future they had just discovered. For a long time, no words were needed. The silence was filled with hope, with love, and with the undeniable sense that their lives had just changed forever. That night, when they finally blew out the candles and climbed into bed, Daniel kept his arm wrapped tightly around Emily. Before sleep claimed them both, he whispered into the quiet, "This is the happiest night of my life." Emily smiled, closing her eyes, her hand resting protectively over her stomach. "Mine too," she whispered back. And in the darkness, a new chapter began.